Mathematical practice number 4 says create a model. Well, what does that even mean?
When we think of creating a model to represent a situation, sometimes our brain gets a little out of hand, and we imagine having to create teeny tiny scale models, and it has to look exactly like the situation and made to perfectly to scale, but that only happens really in the movies. That's not what we mean by making a model. Nor does it mean making little clay models either. That's not math modeling. However, some great math models that work. For instance, base 10 blocks can model adding 40 plus 63 and taking the 40 and 60 and exchanging them out for a 100 block because 10 tens make 100. That's a really great use of math models. Or you can even use things like algebra tiles to represent complex equations.
Let's think back to our example volunteering for a shelter. We had to be there after 4:45, but before 5 o'clock. And when we did some test runs, we got a lot of different times. So if we put that all together into a math model, what would that model actually look like?
A model more appropriate to our situation is maybe collecting data. So I can map out each day of the week and I can take a bunch of different times and I can record those times. And once I do that, what do I do with all that information? Well, maybe I look at something like the average and can compare each day. That's a possibility. Another very handy tool would be to create an equation. Equations have a great use in mathematical to help us model. So I could look at a couple days a week. I maybe take one root and notice there's constants and there's variables in the equation. The constant being it's always going to take 17 minutes because it's a particular distance. But then there's going to be things like red lights, there's going to be weather involved, and possibly traffic. And each of those variables is going to take on different values or different substituted values just depending on how many red lights or what the weather's like. The whole purpose of modeling is to apply a variety of math tools to our world in order to predict reasonable outcomes to specific problems. We have to be able to express scenarios in mathematical language and symbols and choose that best representation for each situation.